All right, this is State of Michigan versus uh, Durba Corrala, case 24057840201. Today is the date set for a bond redetermination hearing. Bond is said intentionally unaffordable in this matter. Can I have appearances, please?
Good morning, Your Honor. Lisa Coyle appearing on behalf of the people.
And Jessica Armstrong appearing on behalf of Mr. Coirella.
All right, today is the date set for the bond redetermination hearing. Bond is said intentionally unaffordable. Ms. Armstrong asked to bond.
Yes, if I could, on behalf of Mr. Coirella, as the court is aware, there are two considerations that go into bond: the danger to society and whether Mr. Coirella is a flight risk. And I would state for the court that neither of those apply to Mr. Coirella. Even with the matter alleged, it occurred over a year ago and was a single encounter between Mr. Coirella and a person known to him who he worked with. He no longer works there anymore. He does have a full-time job working for the U.S. Postal Service in Ohio, where he lives. There's no evidence of any encounters before or since the time of the alleged offense, and Mr. Coirella does not have any criminal history, and he's no longer traveling out of state for work as he was at the time. So I would offer to the court that a PR bond or a reduced bond with a 10% option and no tether would be appropriate in order to assure Mr. Coirella's presence. And then finally, Mr. Coirella did turn himself in for this matter. He has been working with our firm, which is SBBL Law, and has been in regular communication with us. So there's no danger of him being a flight risk, and he's certainly not a danger to the larger community.
All right, Ms. Coyle asked to bond.
Your Honor, I see that he works for the post office and lives in Ohio, and he lives in another state. He was temporarily, or at the time of this assault, he was an employee of Marriott Hotels at the Renson. My understanding, he was the complainant, Ms. Franklin's boss at the time, and that he was leaving that position with Marriott and going to another position with Marriott. And that was his last day, and that she were drinking. She had one drink. She poured herself, and they ate some food, and then he fixed her another drink, and she took one sip and then blacked out, as the court notes. She didn't awake till 7:30 the next morning. She was disoriented and nauseated, called 911 immediately, then called her aunt, who then called her mother. She went to the hospital. A rape kit was performed. She immediately made all the necessarily alerts, in fact, that she knew something was wrong. They did a rape kit at the hospital, and the DNA matched the defendant, Your Honor. He does prove to be a danger to not only this complainant, but also to the public, because this was a position of authority in which he was her boss, and that he allegedly mixed a drink, probably containing some sort of thing, to black her out. And then she wakes up and she is unaware that there's DNA from the rape kit, assuming that she was sexually assaulted by the defendant without her ability to consent. So he does prove to be a danger to the community. I'm not arguing flight risk, because he's working for the post office. He does live in another state. I am asking that bond to be maintained, because this is somebody that acts out in a position of authority. We don't want it to happen to somebody else under that guise. Although it's been a year, cannot blame the victim for when the warrant is then processed. So I'm asking for that bond to be maintained. And at the very least, if the court is going to give a personal bond in this matter, a tether to ensure its appearance. And hopefully this won't happen to somebody else. So this is super serious. This is something that is extremely traumatic and will forever change this woman's life. So I do believe that a cash bond is appropriate in this matter, Your Honor.
Your Honor. Excuse me, if I
One second,
may.
Miss Armstrong, give me one
Okay.
moment. All right, Miss Armstrong, go ahead.
Yes, there's just one more thing I'd like to put on the record. Excuse me. A bit of a cold right now. As far as I'm aware, we do have some lab reports back. There is no evidence at this time that there was a date rape drug that was in the victim's system. So at this time, this is still an alleged offense. Mr. Koirala has not obviously been further along in this process. He's not been convicted at this point and is still presumed innocent of this offense at this time.
Black Licks near Columbus.
Yes.
He stayed there for the last year, or does he stay there before this incident?
He has been based in Columbus, I believe, since 2017. Does that sound right, Mr. Corrala? Yes. So for the past 7 years, and he was traveling for work with Marriott, but since I believe December of 2023, he has been working with the United States Postal Service locally as a carrier.
All right. Had a chance to, well, let me ask you this. Miss Armstrong, how much can your client afford on a bond?
So right now with the $50,000 cash surety, it's obviously too much for him to put forward. I would say that based on conversations that he's had with other associates and my colleagues in the office, a couple $1,000s, which is why we're asking for the 10%.
All right. So here I have a situation of a horrific crime, and these are allegations at this point, but the crime remains the same, and I have to protect the safety of the public while this matter is pending. I also have a person charged who does not live in this state, so I don't understand, or I don't know if I can do this without a cash bond. I am inclined to reduce the bond. It's going to be $50,000 with a 10% provision. During this time, the defendant is to have no contact with the complaining witness. The defendant will be allowed to travel to Ohio and Michigan and those places only. Mr. Coralara, any slip-ups, any missing of court dates or being late to court dates, you're going to be remanded. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The next date, I believe, is going to be before Judge King on August 28th, 2024. That is a Zoom hearing, but every hearing after that is probably going to be in person. So you need to make sure that you make arrangements to get back up here. If not, you're going to be remanded. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there anything further from either parties?
Nothing further. Thank you, Your Honor.
Nothing
Can
further,
I-
Your Honor. Oh, Mr. Koirala?
Yes. I was gonna ask if I can have a word just with you.
I'll put you in a breakout room and then we'll continue on our document. You guys can sign off when you're done.
All right, thank you, Your Honor.